Yeah, so you can hear me. Right. So last week we talked about stocks, unit trusts, and as I said, today we are going to discuss about primary dealers. Before I start primary dealers, let me once again go back to stocks. Let me ask you a question. Yesterday, we came to know a sudden spread of COVID-19 virus in Sri Lanka. How should the market attack, or how would the market have been affected? Is it a bear or positive? I want to see you answer in the chat box. Immediately with the notice of COVID-19 spread, what do you expect? A bear market. Very good. Now, if you are an investor, would you immediately buy? Yes, with the news of COVID-19, market shows bear sentiment. And if you are an investor, would you immediately buy? Say yes or no. Would you immediately buy? No. Okay, so I got two options, yes and no. Right. Now, yesterday we came to know that about 80 were affected and the market closed by 2:30. But by night, we knew it's more than that. The highest numbers recorded within one day. That means more panic. Right. So if you immediately buy, you are yet to see the downward trend. You are yet to see the bottom. In stock field, we have a nice expression: don't catch a falling knife, you will bleed. In market, when the market is going up, it is shown by green. The color is green. When the market is coming down, that is represented by red. So when every share is coming down, the entire market shows red color. So the writers, journalists say it's a bloodbath. Everything is red. Market is falling down. When market is falling down, don't immediately go and buy. Means what? You are catching a falling knife. When you catch a falling knife, what will happen? You will bleed. You have to wait until it falls to the rock bottom. Then pick it. That's what a careful investor does. Stock investing is a very risky business. Yet, it gives very high profit margin. Now, this is our market, Colombo Stock Exchange. We have seen many ups and downs. There are a lot of factors affecting. The fundamental analysis look at news, the country situation. Then, based on that, market react. Market shows these two momentums. Regarding assets, we have two types of assets. I'm just reminding you what we have done so far. Under assets, you have real assets and financial assets. Financial assets, we use another term, paper assets. And this is showing the intrinsic value of papers. Then we said market can go up, market can come down. And we said bull is stepping up in a staircase, one by one step at a time. But the bear jump out of the window. All of a sudden, no notice, immediately panic. Immediately panic. And this is how human beings behave. Market always shows how human beings behave. Today you have another subject called behavioral economics that shows how people behave collectively. Then we said you can artificially make people buy or sell. When you sell, when you see the trend is going up, you are tempted to buy. You want to buy because market is going up step by step. We can, or the manipulators can artificially create the buying trend. Then more and more people buy. They can write in newspapers and say the market is going to enter into a long bull phase. Then people buy. When market moves into bear phase, the same manipulators create panic inside the mind of investors. Okay, it's better to get out of the market. Corona second wave has come. Let's quickly get out. Means what? They want to collect at the rock bottom. So that is unethical. We said one of the objective of the regulator, SEC, to ensure fair trading of shares. Manipulators try to manipulate your mind, and they do not want to create a fair trading place in the stocks. Then we looked at this kind of negative thinking. Now, behavioral economics again shows us people spread negative information, bad information very fast than positives. I was observing Facebook last few days. There was one person who was putting graphs of coronavirus active cases in Sri Lanka against some other countries. Now, for a period of about 3 months, we showed well-managed situation. And the comparison was against Australia, Singapore, then Cuba, then Kenya, Maldives, Mayotte. All of a sudden, yesterday, Sri Lankan numbers active of the corona cases surpassed Cuba. Immediately, that news was spread in the Facebook. Means what? People always spread negative thinking. This is what manipulators do. They say, don't buy, sell, and they collect. Those who want to buy create negative thinking and start to buy. With that, we'll move into today's session, primary dealers. I said, if you want to buy stocks, you have to buy through stock brokers. You must have a CDS account. Then you must buy through stock exchanges. If you want to sell, you have to sell through stock brokers. In the same manner, if you want to buy or trade government securities, you have to do it through primary dealers. Now, who is a primary dealer? So you have two buttons, buy or sell. Click it. That's what you do. Now, you can't do it directly when it comes to stocks. Either you must ask your broker to do it on behalf of you, or you may get an online platform given by your stockbroker. Then you can click a button and buy, or you can sell. Now, primary dealer is a firm that buys government securities directly from a government. In short, individuals cannot directly buy securities. Instead, they have to buy it through primary dealer. The intention is to resell the securities to others. Now, primary dealers are not buying government securities to hold. They will buy and they will resell and make a profit. So, primary dealers are a kind of brokers that buy things and sell back. They buy it from government and they sell it to others. Act as a market maker of government securities. Now, one word, if you ask to describe primary dealers by one sentence, your sentence is, primary dealers are market makers for government securities. Market maker of government securities. Now, government securities should be sold. Someone should buy it and sell it back to the general public. That function is done by primary dealers. The government may regulate the behavior and number of its primary dealers and impose conditions of entry. Now, primary dealers' numbers, entry is decided and directed by the government. There is no free entry, therefore, the number of primary dealers of a country is decided and governed and regulated. Okay, now I'll ask you a question. Who is the regulator of primary dealer? Now, for stockbrokers, you know that. For insurance, you know that. We talked about it. Primary dealers, who is the regulator? CBSL, correct. Central Bank of Sri Lanka is the regulator of primary dealers. Now, very recently, you got a text message, or maybe in news you have seen perpetual treasuries license has been suspended and the suspension has been extended by central bank. So if you don't comply, the regulator can suspend your license, extend the suspension. The government may regulate. So the behavior of primary dealers is regulated. It is regulated by Central Bank of Sri Lanka in our country. Some governments sell their securities only to primary dealers. Yes. Governments that use primary dealers include, now these are other countries. Okay, even in Sri Lanka, primary dealers are used to sell securities on behalf of the government. The objectives of the primary dealer system. Now, government, when they want money, they will issue a paper, that is treasury bill or treasury bond. Now, when they want to issue it, they issue it to the primary dealer to strengthen the infrastructure in government securities market in order to make it vibrant, liquid, and broad-based. This is one objective of the primary dealer, to strengthen the infrastructure in the government securities market. Now, stocks are issued by companies because they want capital. Government want money to do projects and to meet other expenditure. In order to do that, they issue papers. The papers can be short-term or long-term. Prime treasury bills and treasury bonds are issued by the government. Now that securities should be traded in a market. That market must be liquid. What is meant by liquid? LIQUID, liquid. Tell me the meaning of liquid here. In investments, what do you mean by liquid? Okay. Yeah, liquid means easy to convert into cash. So government securities market should be liquid. If you have purchased, you must be able to make it back to currency within short notice with minimum loss. So one objective of primary dealer is to make the market vibrant, liquid, and broad-based. Number two, ensure development of underwriting and market making capabilities for government securities outside. Now here, it's CBSL, so that the latter will be gradually shed these functions. To improve secondary market trading system, which would contribute to price discovery, enhancing liquidity and turnover, and encourage voluntary holding of government securities amongst a wider investor base. Okay. To improve secondary market. Now, what is primary market? What is secondary market? What is primary? IPO, initial public offer. That is primary market. Means what? Issuing a security for the very first time. That is primary. Then secondary, trading that issued security is secondary market. Now, if I talk about primary market, that means okay. Now, if you make your now if you make security available to the general public to the for the very first time, that means you are in primary market. Once that issued security is allowed to trade, that is happening in the secondary market. So another objective of primary dealer system is to improve secondary market trading system, where a large number of participants can involve in. Next, to make primary dealers an effective conduit for conducting open market operations. Now, conduit is like a pipe that is carrying water. So primary dealers are conduit. They are making government securities liquid by getting involved in open market operations. Open market operations means a security is given to the general public, and when the interest rate goes up, more and more people want to buy this security. They give the cash and buy the paper. And when the government want to reduce the interest rate, what will happen? Those who have the paper will hand over the paper and get back the money. So government control the money supply. One way of controlling the money supply is open market operations. Primary dealers should maintain adequate physical infrastructure and skilled manpower for efficient participation in primary issues, trading in the secondary market, and to advise and educate investors. Now, primary dealers, they must recruit the right people who can educate the general public on investment related matters. Now here when we talk about investment, it's about government securities. A primary dealer shall have an efficient internal control system for fair conduct of business, settlement of trades, and maintenance of accounts. Okay. Now, have you ever purchased treasury bills? Say yes or no. 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 Okay, right. So this is our practice. Okay, yeah, I understand. When I talked about insurance, I asked how many of you have insurance policies. Very few of have had, or very few of you are having life insurance policies. Then when I talked about stocks, I asked how many of you have CDS accounts. And most of you have not even heard what is CDS. Now I'm asking whether you have invested in treasury bills. Now, one part of this subject is to pass the exam. The other, get to know and do something. Treasury bills are issued by the government, and the way to buy them is through primary dealers. Governments issue these notes because they want cash, because they want to run a lot of development projects, because they want to meet a lot of expenditure. There are a large number of investors who want to get involved. General public can also buy and sell treasury bills and treasury bonds. You need not to hold it forever. You need not to hold it until maturity. When you need cash, you can trade it. So the market is very liquid. This is what we discussed under primary dealers. But there must be skilled manpower. and there must be internal controls. I'll tell you some nice examples. There was a family known as Rothschild. I'll put that in the chat area. Rothschild family. Now, they started doing business with government securities. When you do functions with government securities, you can make a profit out of that. Now, I'm going to talk to you about a story on this. This family were living in slum houses in Germany. Rothschild is a German term that means red shield. They were bankers living in a slum house. And the father had 5 sons. Father told his sons, you must go and start banking in 5 capital cities of Europe. They were in Frankfurt, and now the elder son went to London, another went to Frankfurt, another Vienna, another stayed in Germany. So likewise, the 5 sons went to different locations, started banks, and were running a connected business. The son who was living in London was helping the London government by buying treasury bills, treasury bonds, government securities. The son who was living in France was also buying and selling government securities. By that time, the Napoleon War started. In England, there was a prince who was running a war against Napoleon.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were interested in helping the government government of the country they were living. Now, the son who was living in London, his name was Northern Mayor Rothschild. He helped government by buying and selling government securities. The son who was living in France was doing the same. When the Napoleon War started, secretly, these 2 sons were discussing when to buy and when to sell government securities. They were also into stocks. And they manipulated the market into such a level overnight. They became rich. They could predict the result of the war. And they started to sell when the market was really should go up. When they started to sell, many others started to sell, and they purchased at a very low price. This kind of manipulations should not happen in security trading. That's why there must be efficient internal controls. Okay, if I just sum up what we have discussed so far, for your exam purpose, if it is asked, who is a primary dealer? Your short and sweet answer is primary dealer is the market maker for government securities. Then if you asked about, yeah, that's on the who is the primary dealer. Now this part answer to the entire thing. If it's a very short answer, your answer is very simple. Primary dealer is a market maker for government securities. Then the objectives of primary dealer system. Now these questions were asked in past papers. So the objectives are to strengthen the infrastructure in the government securities, then to ensure development of underwriting and market making capabilities of government securities, then to improve secondary market, then to make primary dealers an effective conduit for open market operations. Then you must say about the need of having skilled employees and the need of having efficient internal controls. When we were discussing about venture capital, I said a question that is often asked is, what are the funding sources of venture capital? When we were discussing about specialized leasing companies, I said they cannot accept deposits from general public. Then what are the alternative funding sources? In the same manner, here you asked, what are the funding sources of primary dealers? So the funding sources of primary dealers are equity capital, retained earnings, borrowings in the call money market, repo. Last week we talked about repurchase agreements and borrowings from banks. Now, equity capital is the capital the owner is putting, retained earnings, that is out of the profit that earned, what is held without paying dividends, that is retained earnings. Borrowings in the call money market, repurchase agreements. Based on repurchase agreements, there are borrowings, then bank borrowings. They are the funding sources of primary dealers. So for exam purpose, if you asked what are the funding sources of primary dealer, you must be able to answer. If I ask what are the sources of funding to venture capital, then you must have answer. So likewise, for these questions, you must have a very clear answer. So you must remember this: primary dealers, funding sources. Now, what are the sources of funding sources of primary dealers? You have the answer. Equity capital, the amount of money put by the owner, retained earnings, the amount held without paying dividend after profit, then borrowings. So you can easily remember the funding sources of primary dealer. Regulator. Why do you want a regulator? Because if you don't regulate any industry, especially if it's a financial intermediary, there can be a lot of manipulations taking place. That applies to every financial intermediary, including primary dealers. Therefore, the regulator is looking into the matters to avoid any kind of manipulations. Now let's look at the role of the regulator. You can easily remember when it comes to the role of regulator. The first is issuing license, appointment of dealership, appointment of brokers. Now here, appointment of primary dealers. The first activity of any regulator is giving you the license to do the business. If you are not given the license, you cannot do the business legally. That is the entry barrier. You cannot enter into the industry without the approval of the regulator. Once you get this approval, the regulator can suspend it, cancel it, hold it. That is what we are discussing here. Appointment of primary dealers. Issuing of prudential directions and determinations under the law. Now, central bank issue a booklet like this. Now, this is showing all the directions, rules, determinations, notices, and guidelines applicable to licensed finance companies. Now, this kind of prudential directions and determinations are issued by the CBSL. Now, these directions covers a wide set of activities that include capital adequacy, liquidity, lot of conduct related matters, code of conduct. So central bank from time to time issue these directions, determinations under the laws. Next, off-site and on-site examination. The regulator will come to your office premises, ask a space, stay there, and ask you to come up with a lot of documents. That is on-site supervision. Come to your place and do the observing. That is on-site examination. Off-site supervision. Instead of coming to your premises, they will ask you to submit certain documents from time to time. Now, this is a mechanism of regulating. This applies to the regulatory role. So the first is issuing license. Here you can say appointment of primary dealership. Issuing of prudential directions. These applies to any institution covered by the regulator. Then comes to off-site and on-site examination. And the enforcement of regulatory actions, including the suspension and cancellation for appointment of primary dealers for non-compliance with the laws. Okay. Regulator issue the license, hold the license, cancel the license. Means what? They have the power to allow you to enter into the industry. They have the power to block you temporarily. They have the power to cancel you forever. That shows the strength of the regulator. If you are the tiger, you must have teeth. These activities equally applies to all the regulators. Appointment, issuing of directions, and off-site, on-site examinations, then suspension and cancellation of license. The supervision of primary dealers is carried out to ensure an efficient, sound and safe primary dealer system to promote the stability of the government securities market and to safeguard the interest of the investors. Now, why primary dealers are supervised? Because it is required to ensure efficient and sound and safe primary dealer system to promote the stability of the government securities market and to safeguard the interest of investors. But from time to time, we have seen a lot of presidential commission inquiries taking place, not only in Sri Lanka. Even in South Korea, there was a case against primary dealers and how some investors like Samsung got involved. Some were jailed because the primary dealer failed to carry out their duty in a transparent manner. This is why the primary dealer job is supervised. Safeguard the interest of investors. These are the requirements. The main direction issued to primary dealers cover minimum capital requirement. Now we are looking at the directions issued. As I showed you earlier, a booklet like this, maybe you should buy Central Bank of Sri Lanka, showing the directions. Now, inside you have a lot of pages. Now, what is including? That's what we are looking at here. The main directions issued to primary dealers cover minimum capital requirement, capital adequacy, special risk reserve, segregation of securities accounts, custodian holding of securities, market valuation, repo agreements, forward rate agreements, interest rate swaps, financial statements, dividend declaration, and diversification. Now, these directions cover a wide set of activities. You have to comply with them. Non-compliance means your license can be cancelled. The Public Debt Department authorize primary dealer through off-site surveillance and on-site examinations that we discussed. Regularize meetings as well as one-to-one discussions are held with primary dealers to exchange views and to institute remedial measures. So the regulator will hold one-to-one meetings, off-site and on-site supervisions. With that, they want to ensure fair trading takes place in this field. In addition, CBSL has issued a code of conduct for primary dealers. Here PD means primary dealers, to promote best practices in the conduct of trading, and compliance is monitored. There's code of conduct. How do you behave for primary dealers? It ensures that you are acting and promote the best practices. Now, these fields related to investments make some rich and maybe some poor. Last week at the latter part, we talked about a scam, a scandal. And I said an amount of money, more than GDP of Sri Lanka, lost to investors because of Madoff incident. Means what? When general public hand over their hard-earned money for a financial intermediary to invest on behalf of them, such intermediaries can play out your money. For unit trust, there is a trustee, there is a deed to control, and that is regulated by SEC. Now we are talking about primary dealers. You have seen in newspapers how perpetual capital, entrust securities met with problems in Sri Lanka. Remember, in many other countries also we have seen such kind of manipulations taking place. They raise money from commercial banks or general public and make huge profit immediately within a very short period just by making money on money. General public lose faith in the financial intermediary system because of this kind of manipulations. Therefore, investment related areas should be highly regulated. Stocks, unit trusts, primary dealers. Primary dealers are dealing with government securities. Still, a lot of manipulations can take place. Some can become rich due to unethical practices. That should be avoided. When that happens, many others lose, and they lose confidence in the financial system. That affects to the financial stability. That's why a code of conduct is issued by Central Bank of Sri Lanka that is monitored. I think in 2015 past paper, they asked you about collapsing of Entrust Securities PLC and what can cause a primary dealer collapse. In that year, it was targeting the collapse of Entrust Securities PLC of Sri Lanka. But most of these collapses are caused by following: non-compliance with the regulations. The regulator issues you directions, determinations, notices, and guidelines. The practitioners are expected to follow them. But there were occasions where the practitioner, knowing, avoided complying with these directions. And the end result was very clear: collapsing of the institute. So Entrust Securities failed because non-compliance with the regulation. Misappropriation of funds. This is a problem when you can manage others' money. When you can manage others' money, there's a very high probability of misappropriation. Whenever I use my own hard-earned money, I don't cheat myself. It's my money. But the moment I can use your money, general public's money, I may tend to misuse it. Therefore, the regulator is monitoring you. One of the reasons for collapsing of primary dealers is misappropriation of funds. Then fraud and mismanagement. Employees can get involved in frauds and make huge losses, so the company cannot run. Last week, I asked you to, if you could, watch a movie that was Rogue Trader. That was about how a bank collapsed. That was the story of McLeeson of Barring Bank. Financial institutions, financial intermediaries can collapse due to fraud. This is why there must be internal control systems in place. When we're looking at the regulations, the role of the regulator, we said there must be internal controls, strengthening the internal controls. Mismanagement. Knowingly, others' money is managed not in favor to the investor, but to someone else. Okay. We have been discussing venture capital. Venture capital, you don't want a regulator at all. Why? Now I'm asking you a question. Send me your answer in chat box. My question is, venture capital is not regulated like any other financial intermediary. Why? Venture capital is not regulated like any other financial intermediary. Why? Send me your answer. Yes, I got one answer. Let others try. Let others try. I can accept your answer, but I prefer if others also try to answer. Okay, good. What else? It is not dealing with the public's deposits. Yes. Venture capital is not collecting funds from the general public. Therefore, if the institute collapse, only the individual investor affects. So there is no national influence on that. Number two, company and the investors are the same. Yes. What are the other reasons? Think and tell me some other reasons. Now, regulator, one of the most powerful activity of the regulator is issuing license. Venture capital, do you want a license to run the business? No, it's your own decision. On such, the regulator role is not required. Yes, I accept the two answers from you. Right. So other than venture capital, other financial intermediaries collect funds. Maybe the term deposit is used, or maybe the term deposit is not used, but still you collect from others' money. You collect others' money. Therefore, you can misuse them. You can misappropriate them. Therefore, the depositors or the providers of funds should be protected. If a venture capital collapse, it is not affecting to the general public. But if a financial intermediary, any other financial intermediary collapse, that affects to the general public. Let's continue our discussion on primary dealers. Primary dealer. The regulatory and supervisory framework for primary dealers in government securities is specified by the regulations issued under the local Treasury Bills Ordinance and the Registered Stocks and Securities Ordinance, with effect from 3rd of June 2016. Department of Supervision of NBFI is responsible for supervising PDs. Now, you are very clear on who is regulating primary dealers. So that is by CBSL, and in CBSL, Department of Supervision of NBFI is responsible for supervising. Now, who are eligible for authorized primary dealers? That was an answer for a past question. Now, what are the two categories of primary dealers? What are the two types of primary dealers? Licensed commercial banks and dedicated primary dealer companies. So there are commercial banks, they can get involved in primary dealer activities. Then there are dedicated primary dealer companies like First Capital. So for exam purpose, you asked two types, your answer is commercial banks and dedicated PDs. Now these are the primary dealers of Sri Lanka. Some are commercial banks, some are dedicated primary dealers. Bank of Ceylon, Capital Alliance, Commercial Bank of Ceylon, First Capital Treasuries, Equity Securities, Net Wealth Securities, NSB Fund Management. Now, when the questions were raised on entrust securities, one question was, after the collapsing of entrust securities, what were the remedial actions taken place? So one remedial action took place was to put entrust securities under the management of NSB Fund Management Company. So the failed primary dealer was given to another state-owned primary dealer to manage. Now these are the other commercial banks: People's Bank, Sampath Bank, Ceylon Bank, Wealth Trust Securities, Union Bank of Colombo. Okay. So who are the two categories of primary dealers? Tell me answer. Who are the two types of primary dealers? Yeah. Two types of primary dealers. There are two types of primary dealers. Who are they? When we looked at the names, you can easily say them. Yeah, commercial banks, dedicated primary dealers. Okay. Tell me some names of dedicated primary dealers. Tell me some examples for dedicated PDs. Wealth Trust, First Capital. Okay. Okay, right. Now you have been living in Sri Lanka for last couple of years, and in newspapers we have heard two names of primary dealers that were subject to certain legal activities. Therefore, their license was suspended. Tell me two names. No, the finance and ETI are not primary dealers. Here I am asking about primary dealers. Okay, I'm asking two names of primary dealers that got into trouble. I'm not asking, okay, perpetual treasury is one. Tell me another name. Perpetual treasury is one. I agree. There was another one. I talked again and again about it. Entrust Securities. Entrust Securities. Now, these two firms were in trouble. Now, I'm not discussing on that, but another bank's name was also there. Right? So you'll find it. Now, for exam purpose, you may ask, who is a primary dealer? Your answer is very simple. Primary dealer is a market maker for government securities. What are the sources of funding for primary dealers? So your answers are equity, retained earnings, then repo borrowings, borrowings from call money market, borrowing from banks, three borrowings, and two into balance sheet. You can easily remember that. Then if you asked, what are the two types of primary dealers? Then you have commercial banks and dedicated primary dealers. Then you must be able to give some examples. Then what is the regulator role? Then you know appointment, directions, on-site, off-site supervision, code of conduct. So you can easily remember these for your exam purpose. Now we said the job of the primary dealer is trading government securities. Now, what are these government securities? That's what we are looking at. What do you mean by these government securities? Number one, short-term treasury bills. Treasury bills are short-term. Short-term means less than 1 year. If a security gets matured within a period of 1 year, less than 1 year, we call it a short-term investment. Long-term, that means more than 1 year. So treasury bonds, rupee loans, Sri Lanka development bonds are long-term government securities. Now we'll look into what are they. Treasury bill, it's a short term. The maturity dates are 91 days, 182 or 364 days. Without any interest, but issued at a discount on its redemption price, face value. Okay. Now if you think about fixed deposit, say you go and deposit 5 million. On the face of the certificate which you get, 5 million is printed. Means what? Interest is charged based on 5 million. But for these securities issued at a discount on its redemption price, face value. Now, if the face value is 5 million, you need not to deposit 5 million. You will buy it at a discounted price. But upon maturity, you will get this face value. That difference is the interest. If the security is held till maturity, the profit would be the difference between the purchase price and the redemption price. It is issued in Sri Lankan rupees. So fixed deposit interest is upon the face value. But for treasury bills, the difference is your profit. So the security is issued at a value below face value. Therefore, we call it a discounted value. That discount is the interest. Now, what are the benefits of treasury bills? Minimum risk, since it is issued and guaranteed by the government. Right. When I deposit my money and take away a piece of paper, printed fixed deposit or anything on it, what is the risk I'm undertaking? I'll hand over my money. I have 5 million. I'll hand over that 5 million to you. And you issue me a paper. And I have the paper. The paper may be printed fixed deposit or maybe bond or whatever you call. The moment I hand over money and get the paper, I am undertaking a risk. What is the risk? Now, somewhere you talked about the finance ETI. Now you have faced that risk. What is the risk you undertake? Loss of deposit token. That is the risk you undertake. Default. Will they pay me when I forward the paper? But for government securities, the risk is minimum because it is guaranteed by the government. What is our ruling? Higher the risk, complete the balance. Higher the risk, higher the return. Higher the risk, higher the reward, higher the return. Now, risk is less. Risk is less means what? Your return is also less. So those who have a low risk appetite prefer treasury bills. High liquidity, you can easily convert it back into the money since it can be traded in the secondary market. Joint investments can be made. No tax and stamp duty. Transactions can be done swiftly from the automated system, central depository system. You can immediately do transactions. Treasury bonds. Now we are looking at government securities. Long term. Now what the term is defined here. So you have maturity from 2 to 20 years. Fixed interest government security. It is issued in Sri Lankan rupees. There are two types issued by the government of Sri Lanka. Conventional bonds, tenor is 2 to 20 years. Fixed and semi-annual coupon, payments are made. Then you have inflation-linked bonds. Tenor is more than 3 years. Semi-annual coupon, your interest will be paid twice in a year. Are made by based on the CPI, Consumer Price Index. So that is linked with the inflation. Benefits of having treasury bonds. Minimum risk, almost like the earlier one, treasury bills. High liquidity, the same. No withholding tax, same. Receiving semi-annual. Capital gains can be achieved. So these are the benefits of treasury bonds. Then you have rupee loans. Now these are the securities offered by the government. So the primary dealers are dealing with government securities. A long-term 2 to 30 years fixed interest government security with semi-annual coupon. It is issued in Sri Lankan rupees. Development bonds. A long-term 2 and 3 years government security with semi-annual payments. Computed on a variable rate based on 6-month LIBOR plus a fixed margin. It is issued in US dollar term. Now, development bonds are issued in US dollars. And the rate is based on LIBOR plus 2%, LIBOR plus 1%, likewise a fixed margin. Now, what is LIBOR? What is LIBOR? Send me your answer in the chat box. LIBOR. I'm not asking SLIBOR. I'm asking LIBOR. LI, not SLI. LI. London Interbank Offer Rate. Yes. So when we are very good, very good. So when we are dealing with foreign money, our base is based on LIBOR plus a percentage, and it is issued in US dollars. Benefits of development bonds. Minimum risk because it is issued and guaranteed by the government. Same thing applies like earlier. High liquidity, same. Returns being completely tax-free, receiving semi-annual interest, higher return than the standard deposit. That's positive. No exchange rate risk since it is denominated in USD. Others were denominated in LKR. Here it is in USD. Okay, now this is something which I caught from a website, Sri Lanka's Entrust Securities, a primary dealer in government securities. Okay, so they were revealing 11 billion scam. 11 billion scam. Now these are the problems with primary dealers. Frauds can take place where the values are extremely high. So within our lifetime, maybe within last 5 years, we have seen Entrust Securities PLC and Treasury and perpetual treasuries fail. There are issues with them. Okay, so with that, I'll end the area on primary dealers. But now, let me first check your knowledge on some past areas. So I'll ask question, you can type your answer. So the question, first one, can you remove a financial intermediary? Can you remove financial intermediary? Then justify. Can you remove a financial intermediary? We started to talk about financial intermediation. That was our first thing. Can you remove? You can say yes or no. Okay. Right. Now, if you say yes, that means you don't want banks, you don't want insurance companies, you don't want primary dealers, you don't want stockbrokers, you don't want stock credit ratings. Likewise, lot of primary dealers you can remove. Right. Today, yes, I will accept your answer because certain attempts are done. It does not mean you can fully eliminate financial intermediaries, but there were certain attempts. So I'm not going to argue on that. Right. What is a shadow bank? Through social media, okay? And there are many participants, crowd, many participants. Now, venture capital, one participant ideally, or there can be some high net worthy, but most of the time that's by an individual. Here, a large number of participants, individual participants. Very good. A large number of people. That is going to be the number of participants. Yeah. Then if I ask, what are the two types of insurance? What are the two types of insurance? General and life. Okay, very good. I get the answers very quickly. Very good. Examples of products of general insurance. Examples for products of general insurance. Okay, very good. What is meant by ubrema fide? Ubrema fide. Utmost, the mutual trust. Very good. Utmost faith. Okay, good. Right. Then causa proxima, that's on principles of insurance. Causa proxima. Yeah. The relevant, yeah, proximate cause, very good. The relevant cause should be included in the insurance cover. Very good. Ex gratia payment. Ex gratia payment. Yeah, a payment that is done with good faith but not included in the cover. Legally, you need not to pay, but still you pay based on good faith, good relationships. That's ex gratia payments. Okay. I'm happy you have gone through the notes very well and you answer quickly. Right. So today I'll take some time to describe certain stories, certain incidents that took place in our market and that actions taken by and some stories as well. Now this part shows you a very rapid growth in the market. Price is going up, up, up. And you call it bull market. Let me first tell you a story and explain the relevance of that story to stock market. And let me put it into our context. So this is a story told about manipulations taking place in market, but let me localize it. Okay, right. So two tourists came to Sri Lanka and they directly went to Dambulla. They went to the three-wheel park and said, we want to rent out a house with a large garden. Now these two backpackers knew three-wheel guys are the best to get assistance. Now the three-wheeler guys who are staying in the three-wheel park helped these two white-skinned tourists to find a house on rent basis with a large garden. And these two tourists became so close with the three-wheel park guys. Then one day, these two tourists told three-wheeler friends, my dear friends, we have come to Sri Lanka to collect monkeys. Now, if you go to Dambulla, there are a lot of rilau, a species of monkeys, just walking around, just moving around in large numbers. And they said, we have built cages in our garden and we are ready to buy them. If you bring a monkey, I'll pay you 50,000 each. Now, three-wheeler guys found that's a very lucrative, profitable business instead of waiting and wasting time in the three-wheel park. They immediately went to the nearest temple. There were a lot of monkeys, put them into bags somehow, and handed over them to the tourist. Ready cash, 50,000 paid immediately for one monkey. And all these monkeys were put into the cages. And after some time, almost all the monkeys staying around Dambulla town were captured and handed over to these two tourists. Money was readily paid. Now the tourist guys come back and say, we need more animals. We need more monkeys. We are paying you 50,000. Now the three-wheeler guy said, sir, there are no monkeys nearby. The moment they see, they climb into the tallest trees. Now the tourists say, two guys said, we are ready to pay you 75,000 each if you capture more. We are ready to pay even 75,000. Now, that motivates the three-wheeler guys. They climb to the tallest trees at night and capture the monkeys. Handed over immediately, spot cash 75,000 each given. They were very happy. Now the tourist guys wait for some time and say, we need more monkeys. Then the tourist guide says, there are no monkeys near about. Okay, we are ready to pay you 100,000. Very few dare to go to the dense jungles, capture very few who are remaining, and got 100,000 each. They come back to the park again and say, we need more animals, we need more monkeys. Then the tourist guy says, no sir, there are not a single one left. The very next morning, one tourist left Dambulla. The other is remaining. He do the shopping, do some activities, and come to the park. He go to the closest friend, the three-wheeler guy, the closest three-wheeler guy, and said, you know, the other colleague went to Colombo. A ship is coming, and we are going to sell one animal at 500,000. So that is the killing we are making. A huge amount of money we are making out of this business. If you bring me anyone else, any more monkey, I'll pay you 250,000. That is 50% of our due money. Then the tour guy says, then the three-wheeler guy says, no sir, believe me, there are no one. Then said, okay, I'll pay you 300,000. No sir, there are no one. All the monkeys in the country are in your cages. No one is left behind. At that moment, the tourist says to the three-wheeler guy, I'll tell you a secret. It is I who handle the accounts. I who handle the data of the number of monkeys that I'm keeping. If you pay me 150,000, I'll release you one monkey. And when my friend returns, he will definitely pay you 250,000 and you will have 100,000 profit. That moment, the three-wheeler guy pawn out his gold articles, make 150,000 and buy one caged monkey. Now the three-wheeler guy goes back to his house and keep the monkey. The nearby neighbors ask, how do you got this? There are no monkeys. Why don't you sell it to the tourist? Now he's telling the secret. This is what I do. I'll immediately make 100,000 the moment the other guy arrives. Now everyone is pleading to him. Please ask the tour guy in Dambulla to help us. We will also pay 150,000. Very soon, all the caged monkeys are back in the houses, individual houses. Everyone pays 150,000 to the tourist. Now everyone is eagerly waiting to see 100,000 profit next morning. When they woke up next morning, they found even the remaining tourist has left last night. Okay, now what are you going to do with the monkeys you purchased at a very high price? The next morning, the buyer has gone. You purchased not to rear a monkey. Monkey is not giving you milk, eggs, or anything. You purchased the monkey to sell it at a very high price. Now what has happened? You wanted to sell it at a very high price. Now what has happened? No buyers. No buyers at all. Crash. Market collapse. Now this story applies to manipulators. Remember, from time to time, you will find a lot of manipulators who will come and say, buy this, tomorrow you can sell at this price. And the buyer is not looking at the benefits that you can get if you hold it. If you are a monkey, what is the benefit you get if you are not a gypsy? No milk, no meat, no eggs, no other benefit. The same way, traders buy shares believing the share price will go up. The share price will go up. Very next day, if there are no buyers, you will sell it at the lowest possible price. So that causes market collapse. Now, last few days, there were a lot of activities in Colombo Stock Exchange. Lot of buying took place. The moment you got the news of a second wave, we still do not know whether it is a second wave or not. Maybe like at the Navy Valley, it may be controlled. Maybe it has spread to the society. That we do not know. But the panic take place. But till then, what was happening? Someone was buying and selling at high. Someone was buying and selling at high. Someone is buying and selling at high. Now, the person who purchased at this believed, I can sell it at this level when the tourist return tomorrow. But if that tourist has left the market, then there is no one to buy. That is market collapse. The Dambulla story summarizes you and visualize you what manipulation is. Manipulation is creating artificial demand for unnecessary things. It can take place in any market or in any country. The story which I told you shows when you buy something worthwhile, even if the market closed for 5 odd years. Now during Corona spread, market was closed almost for 50 odd days. But if you're holding a very good company, you need not worry. But if you have purchased with the intention of selling tomorrow, so we call them traders, you are facing a trouble. Okay, so I'm not saying trading is bad. I'm not saying invest is the only thing you should do. No. But if you are the trader, you are undertaking a very high risk, especially if you are purchasing manipulated shares with the belief of selling it at a very high price immediately. Okay, right. Now suppose there is a regulator to the price of monkeys. Now in our example, we are not talking about stocks here. We are talking about monkeys. Suppose there was some regulator for the price of monkeys. What should he, what would he have done? What was the activity he would do to prevent the price collapse of monkeys? Can someone think and tell me? This is just a metaphor. This is just a story to tell you what is manipulation. Now I'm asking, in order to prevent manipulation, what will you do? Tell me set of activities that you can do. Then I can link that to stock trading. Now here in our example, the price of a monkey escalated. That escalation was not based on demand and supply, but a created demand. Set a fixed price, impose directives, price controls. Okay, go ahead. I like to listen a little bit. Good, go ahead. Think and tell me some other. Okay, good. I'm happy with your answers. Right. Set a fixed price. Right. Now, let me link this story to Colombo Stock Exchange. In year 2009, May, we ended terrorism. 30 odd years, terrorism suffering was ended in May 2009. From that day onward, Colombo Stock Exchange started a long bull run. And by 2011, we were the second best performing stock exchange in the world. By that time, a lot of manipulations were taking place. Initially, very good share prices was going up. Like if you think about animals, the price of a cow may go based on the number of milk liters it gives away. Price of a hen may be based on the number of eggs it's giving. Likewise, based on the usage. So we call them fundamentally valued shares. Shares that has a value. Think about John Kill's holdings. Think about Commercial Bank, Sampath Bank, Lanka Lubricants, Lanka I06, Ceylon Glass, Richard Peary's company, Richard Peary's Exports. Think about all these companies. They manufacture something. They engage in a fruitful economic activity. And when the war is over, lot of tourist hotel construction started. That means lot of tiles were sold, lot of pipes were sold, lot of more sales. People moved freely, more tourism activities, more vehicle movements, more petrol selling, right? Then you get more income. Sri Lanka became middle income earning country. More food consumption. Earlier chicken was a luxury product. Now that's a basic product. More and more. Baila farm, which was trading at 10 rupees, went to 400. Partly due to fundamental reasons, partly due to manipulations like the monkey price. Okay. So when you are setting manipulators, they select both types, fundamentally valued shares as well as we call them mid caps, small caps. Okay, traders' favorite shares. Now look at what you said. Set a fixed price. Very good. Now the price of monkeys went from 50, 100, 150 jumps. 2011, all of a sudden, certain shares were running at a fast, accelerated price. For an example, People's Merchant Bank was trading at 30 rupees by 9:30 when the stock market trading started. By 11:30, it was trading at 90 rupees. 300% gain within 2 hours. Now that is unusual. Set a fixed price. Now, SEC intervened and put a price band. Now look at a share that was trading at 30 rupees by 9:30, started to sell at 90 rupees, 300% gain within 2 hours. Set a fixed price. The regulator intervened and put price band, BAND, band. That means no share can trade more than 10% per day. So if People's Merchant Bank started to trade at 30 rupees at 9:30, the maximum it can move up is 33, just 10%, not 300%, just 10%. Then Securities Exchange Commission ensured the prices of monkeys will not move to skyrocketed levels. Less manipulation. Okay. Then you said impose directives. Very good. Lanka Cement was a company that had the cement factory in KK's, Kankasantore. But by 2009, it was just a name board. No active factory activities taking place, just a name board. But Lanka Cement was a listed company. It was trading about 3 rupees per share. No function at all. All of a sudden, it went to 11 rupees. Now that was before the price band, right? If there was price band, it can go maximum 3 rupees and 30 cents, 10%. But there was no price band initially. Then there was a directive. When a sudden increase takes place, SEC can hold trading of that share. So they halted trading of Lanka Cement. And asked from the management of Lanka Cement, is there any justifiable reasons behind this? Now the stockbrokers were saying KK is going to be sold to an Indian company and they will very soon start cement manufacturing, so many stores. Lanka Cement came up with announcement, no such announcement in the near future. That announcement was published in the website. Then everyone knows there is no reason to rush behind Lanka Cement. The price fell down. Set a fixed price. Set a directive. That's an example. Ensure fair trading practices. Lot of actions taken in this regard. Now I talked about price band. One share can maximum go up to 10%, and that ceiling will continue for 10 days. For 10 days, the price can only move by 10%, 10%, 10%. So the monkeys cannot immediately move 300% up. No. The buyers take time. 10 days, just 10% profit you can maximum take per day. Then you have enough time to evaluate and understand. Let me tell you another story. Okay. After telling this story, I link it with trading. There was a farmer, and as per our culture, we believe in horoscopes. Now these farmers were subject to Saturn, Senasulu Mahadasava, Saturnic era. Now the Saturn said, Mr. Farmer, whatever you plant will not bear fruits. Means what? A direction, a directive is given. Mr. Farmer. Normally farmers cultivate vegetables, fruits. Now he's given a direction. Whatever you make an effort, you will not see the fruits. If you are the farmer, what will you do? If you are the farmer, vegetable farmer, what will you do? But the farmer was very creative. So most of you would say, during Senasulu Mahadasava, I will not do these activities. But the farmer was very creative. The regulator says something, but the farmer creatively planted green leaves, kanku. No fruits at all, but he earned a massive profit by selling green leaves. Senasulu was very upset. Okay. Then he said, whatever you plant next time, you will not be able to sell leaves. No fruits, no leaves. Now what will you do? No leaves, no fruits. What will you do? Okay, very good. Now you're creative, very good. Now the farmer this time planted maniocs, sweet potatoes, and all the things that will give him a commercial value at the roots, not by selling leaves, not by selling fruits, but selling roots. He made a massive profit. Saturn, Senasula was so upset. He said, whatever you plant next time, you will not enjoy fruits, leaves, no roots. What will you do? This time he planted orchids, salt flowers, anthuriums, salt flowers. Made a massive profit. This time he said, okay, whatever you plant, you will not be able to sell flowers, fruits, leaves, roots. What will you plant? What will you plant? Yeah, he planted bamboo and sold the stem, the wood. Okay. This time, Sennacherib is very upset. He said, whatever you plant, there won't be flowers, leaves, no trunk, no roots to sell, not at all green. Nothing green will be there. What will you do? Nothing green will be there. What will you do? Yeah, he planted mushrooms. Mushrooms. Okay. Right. So, what is happening? Manipulators are very creative. The regulator puts on directions. Manipulators move into area unregulated. Or within the regulated means, they find nice, profitable gaps. Now, let me tell you an example from, once again, Colombo Stock Exchange. In 2011, when we were the best performing stock exchange, second best performing stock exchange, lot of manipulators got into and they started playing with others' money. In one particular day, a company called Blue Diamonds, its shares traded 3 times more than the authorized capital. It's like the entire capital traded 3 times within the day. Our people, our investors were day traders by that time. When you go to stockbroker house, you will find a lot of retired people staying in front of monitors, almost glued their eyes to the computer monitor and do trading. Lot of retired people, nothing to do at home, make an earning about 5,000, 6,000, 10,000, maybe 1 million based on their capital, almost like gambling, almost gambling. Blue Diamonds, that company shares traded more than 3 times of the authorized capital. That particular day, a ruling came, price band, more than 10%. Price cannot be up or down move. The price cannot move more than 10% upward or downward. That was the ruling. By that time, the share has picked to move up, east-west. There was a company by the name of East West Properties PLC. The share was trading about 10 rupees. And no one has heard about this company much. All of a sudden, there were newspaper articles about this company. Okay, now this company is going to revalue their assets and the Colombo land price has gone up. Net assets per share, which shows in the books about 10 rupees, will move into 36. Many positive news published on newspapers. Okay. So in Sri Lanka, we have very high literacy rate and very low understanding rate. So the people who read these articles started to buy East-West. It was creating a very nice bubble in Colombo Stock Exchange. I think I showed you the movement of a bubble. Yeah. It was trading at 10, got the attention, and those who purchased at 10 started to sell at 12, 20% gain, and it went down to 11. Then the newspaper articles ran nice articles. Now what was trading at 11 started to move up, say about 13 rupees, 30%. Now the price band was imposed. 13 cannot move more than 130 rupees. 14 and 30 cents. That is the maximum per day. Right? Normally, the end result was immediately when you put a price band, share prices went down by 10%. Day by day, it went maximum 10% down. It never went up. blue diamonds phase, that Danko 2 porcelain phase, that price slowly went down and got into the natural price. But here, the manipulators got together, east west, all buying started at 10% up, and very soon all the sellings were absorbed by them. And by maybe after 2 hours of trading, there were no seller of east west. Everyone want to buy at 14.30, 10% up. Everyone want to buy. Now they have created, like the farmer, they have created unnecessary demand for this share. Now everyone knows one thing: if I buy today, 10% up tomorrow, and that was trading for 10 days, and everyone is happy. Per day you can make 10% gain. That's not bad. Earlier you were happy with 300% increase within day. Now you don't. It's 10%. That's new normal. Like your face mask, new normal. Now it's 10%. On the 9th day, the company came up with a dividend announcement. 50 cents dividend per share. Now, on the 10th, they removed the price ceiling. So there won't be any price ceiling on 10th day. But it was trading, say, about 20 rupees. All of a sudden, went to 36. No price ceiling. Okay. So that shows how the manipulators act. Regulator comes with rulings. Now what is happening? Impose directives, price controls, ensure fair trading practices, all what you said were done by the regulator. But the manipulator is different. This is the problem with regulator. Investors are greedy. They all want a quick killing, a quick profit. Therefore, it's very difficult to control these bubbles. The regulator tries to come up with a lot of solutions, and the manipulator always come up with a mechanism to manipulate by finding some gaps between the rules. This is why you have to be very careful and mindful on stock trading. Okay. Now I'm asking some questions. If you are the investor, how do you protect yourself when you are buying and selling shares? Think in general. Think about the examples we used. If you are the investor, how do you protect yourself from manipulation? Write your answers in the chat box. If you are the investor, how do you protect yourself from manipulators? Very good. Let others also write. I'm very happy with the first answer. Okay, right. Very good. Let me start another story from here. So you say not to panic and not to be too optimistic. Very good. Assess the economic thoroughly. Very good. Tarindu, you have come up with a very good piece. Gather reliable information. Right. Very good. Now I'm asking a question. If you get a chance to know information well ahead of others, can you make supernatural profits? For an example, let's assume you come to know that a company called XYZ is going to be acquired by a foreign company. XYZ is trading at 10 rupees per share. And the foreign buyer is ready to purchase that company at 200 rupees. Means what? If you buy the company at 10 rupees today, tomorrow you can sell it at 200 rupees. Okay. So if you put 10 million today, you will have 2,000, 2 billion tomorrow, and you will be one of the richest men. Is this good? Is this fair? Very good, very good. Can, but it is unethical under insider dealing. Very good. Now, what is insider trading? What is insider trading? You can do it. It's very unethical. It's called insider dealing. You can continue. It's an offense and you will be put into jail. Getting to know information before public knows. Very good. Right. Now, do you know about Raj Rajaratnam? Say yes or no. Do you know about Raj Rajaratnam? Okay, right. Raj Rajaratnam is a Sri Lankan born person who went to USA. When he went to USA, he started a fund by the name of Galleon Fund. Galleon means sail ship. So Sri Lanka, the Western people like the Portuguese came to Sri Lanka by these ships, Galleon Fund. So his symbol was sailing ship and his fund he termed Galleon Fund. 2008, almost all funds, almost all traders got affected badly, including Warren Buffett. But Galleon Fund was making profit even during that time. He was always accurate. Raj Rajaratnam, his fund, Galleon Fund, was always accurate. Whenever a share acquisition is going to take place, he has purchased the share well ahead of time and sold at a massive profit. Whenever a company is going to declare a dividend, he has purchased the share well ahead of time and making a huge profit. A person can do it once or twice, but Raj Rajaratnam has been continuously doing that. Okay. Can a person be so successful continuously in a stock market? Say yes or no. Can a person be continuously successful in all investment decisions in a stock market? Say yes or no. Okay, right. Now, FBI was behind him. Can a person be continuously successful in stock trading? The answer is yes, if he's a genius, if he's a superb class analyst. Yes, you can. If not, you must be an insider trader, insider dealer. Then your answer is correct, possible if no adequate internal controls are there. Now, FBI was behind Raj Rajaratnam. They first recorded his mobile phone calls. When you go to US, whether you are a Sri Lankan, Pakistan, Indian, Maldives, you are called an Indian. And very soon, all these Indians create strong personal relationships among Indians. They thought a lot of Silicon Valley companies, IT-related Silicon Valley companies belong to Indians. And he has been doing a lot of trading with these Indian companies, Indian-owned companies. They thought, FBI thought, he must be discussing all this information with the CEOs and the top corporate management members of these companies. They recorded all the telephone recordings mobile phone recordings and found no, he's not having such close relationship with any of these. Now the FBI was at a problem. But they found before all the information comes to SEC, this person must be getting them. So they were closely monitoring all the activities of Raj Rajaratnam. There's a book called Rise and Fall of Raj Rajaratnam, The Apprentice of a Billionaire. That's a very good book to read. But they could not find. But FBI came up with a very nice finding or assumption. Even now, all information related to SEC is faxed to them. So FBI put a camera. Somehow they managed to put a video camera on top of all the fax machines in suspected companies. And they found most of the office assistants, peons, are Indians. When they get a fax to be faxed to SEC, Securities Exchange Commission, to be notified in the stock trading websites, before sending to SEC, these peons fax it to Rajaratnam's Galleon Fund. Then it is faxed to SEC. That time gap is enough for Rajaratnam to make a killing. That was proved. For the very first time, video wiretaping was accepted as evidence and Rajaratnam was found guilty. That was, latter part of 2000 or maybe the beginning of 2012. Insider trading, that's what he was doing. Obtaining information before others. So another activity of the regulator is to ensure every member of the general public gets information simultaneously. So this is why when an announcement comes to the market, let's say Asian Capital or Asian Plastic is going to declare the dividend. Immediately, trading is halted. Then the announcement comes. Then halt is released. Then everyone knows that this company has declared a dividend. Okay? Right. Now my next question is, if you are the director of a company, let's say general public. Now general public's movements are controlled because everyone gets the information simultaneously. Before publishing, trading is halted, then information is published at once. So general public's movement is controlled by the regulator. But if you are the director of a company, you get information before publishing. And you buy and you sell. My question is, can a director buy or sell shares of his own company? Can a director of a company buy or sell shares of his own company? Tell me your answer. Others, tell me your answers. Yeah, I got two answers. One is yes, the other is no. Okay, right. So if you are the director of a company, you can buy shares of your own company. So the answer is yes. But if you are the director of a company and if you have access to price sensitive information before it's available to the general public, then you must not buy. Okay. Now your company is going to declare the dividend. I'll tell you a nice example. K-Gold Plantation. Their earnings was less. So no one expected a good dividend from K-Gold Plantation PLC. All of a sudden, they declared 25 rupees per share dividend. Superb dividend. out of reserves, not from annual earnings. Now, if you are a director, well ahead of declaring this 25 rupees dividend, before your office assistant fax it, maybe 1 week ahead, you know that. Maybe 3 days ahead, you know that. So you can buy. Is it fair? Is it fair? No, no. Then how do you prevent directors acting unethical manner? Okay, so the ruling is directors can buy or sell shares of their company and declare that. So that declaration is published in the CSE website. However, when price sensitive information is about to be published, directors should not trade shares. If you found traded, it's a punishable offense. Okay, so this is how SEC is acting. This is how the regulations takes place in Colombo Stock Exchange. Okay. Related party transactions. What is that? Related party transactions. What is that? Transactions with subsidiaries, associates, very good, and relatives of owners and key management personnel. These are called relative party transactions. Now, when a director cannot do transactions, but still he has the access to price sensitive information, instead of he himself buying, his wife buys, his brother buys, is it ethical? Is it ethical? No. Okay. So today we discussed initially primary dealers, then with some nice examples, with some nice stories, we looked into stock trading. These will be very beneficial for you when we talk about corporate governance. So today we talked about insider trading, related party transactions, share manipulations, okay, bubbles, creating bubbles. Now let's look at .com bubble. This took place in US. Okay, so don't tell Sri Lanka is bad. Okay, one problem with most of Sri Lankans, they believe other countries are really good and I don't know why Sri Lanka is bad. No, it's not. Throughout the world, people behave almost in a similar manner. They have fear, they have greed. In US, a Forbes magazine ran a nice article, Young Billionaires. So the magazine showed the pictures of people who got into IT field and became rich in fast track. Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, and many others. In this list, other than one person, almost all the others were IT related. Therefore, investors believed if I can buy shares of an IT related company today, very soon I can sell it at a very high price and become rich. And there were a lot of young entrepreneurs who thought it's better to start up an IT company, get it listed, and sell it at a very high price and be rich forever. So two greedy parties are meeting together in the market. Nobody wants to run a company. Nobody wants to run a company profitably, but both want to run, trade, make profit, and leave the market. Owner want to increase the price and get out. And the buyer want to trade it and become rich. Everybody want to reach without creating products. So they were creating a bubble, like the monkey business. Everyone is buying and believing you can sell at a high, buy next, buy next, buy next. And one day they found there are no buyers at all. So we call it bubble burst. The year the dot-com bubble burst, 1.65 trillion. This time it's in trillions. Lost. Okay. Altogether 2.7 billion, these values. This is what happened when manipulations take place. Remember, this took place in US in year 2001, August. So stock trading in US is highly regulated, yet this is how manipulations take place. And this is what the cartoonists say. The dot-com bubble had burst, but there is no panic, my dear. There are enough bubbles to suicide. Everyone knew that there will be another new bubble. Investment is a very profitable business. You have to buy at low, sell at high. But be very careful. Otherwise, it's almost like a suicide. With that, I'll end today's session. Thank you. Hope you are clear on what we discussed. Next week, we will talk on pawning, and I'll make some reading materials scanned and available well ahead. So instead of using a lot of slides, I may use these readable articles. Thank you.